Hello, we talk a lot about the numbers when it comes to crime, but tonight we are putting a human face to it. That's the pulse of America. Chances are you don't know Lanaya Murphy, but she has quite a story. She was shot in the head in Chicago in 2018, still a teenager in high school, but she made a full recovery. Instead of seeking revenge, she became an activist, joining a youth group as a mentor and speaking out against her city's gun violence, from Chicago to the halls of power in Washington, D.C., including the U.S. Capitol. She was salutatorian of her class when she graduated in 2020 and continued to be a mentor and an advocate because she loved it so much. A sociology major, socially conscious, a joy to be around. That's how those who know her describe her. Where Lanaya lived and died, the per capita homicide rate is 3 times higher than L.A. and 5 times higher than New York, making for a lot of memorials like this one for Lanaya. Why is that? Well, before we get those answers, we're going to introduce you to someone else as well. Bilal Evans is his name. He's an outreach worker for an anti-violence group founded by former Secretary of Education Arne Duncan. Bilal spent 15 years in prison for a crime he says he didn't commit, and now has joined the fight for the soul of his city. As he did that work, Bilal was shot in the head 2 days before Christmas. Luckily, it was just a graze and he survived. His story is incredible as well, and we will get to that in just a minute. But we are going to pivot right now to another story that we have been covering extensively here on the Donlon Report, and that is the situation at the U.S. border. Where more than 178,000 migrants attempted to cross last month alone. We have been tracking this closely. It brings the total number of crossings now to more than 2 million in 2021, which is a lot, more than all of 2019 and 2020 combined. And that's why so many are calling it a crisis. Now, in response to the surge in immigration over the past year, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has deployed the National Guard to the border as part of his Operation Lone Star. But the operation has come under sharp criticism in recent weeks, even from National Guard troops themselves. They told the New York Times recently they are basically mall cops. And joining me now for more on this, National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd. Brandon, let's start with what we're hearing and what you are seeing about these situations and these issues that the National Guard's troops are complaining about.
Oh, the first thing is I'm disappointed that they would feel that way, but I can understand because they don't get to see the final product. But what I can personally tell you is they're completely invaluable. We need them there because they're our eyes. When people cross the border illegally, they then call it out, and we're able to respond to that location and take those people into custody. Unfortunately, the National Guard doesn't always get to see that take place or happen, but they are absolutely invaluable. They're our eyes. We need them there, and I appreciate all the work that they're doing for us.
I'm sure. What do you need the most help with, Brandon? Because it sounds like from those we've heard complaints from, they say they really can't do anything but call you anyway.
Well, and that's they can't enforce immigration law. The only people that can do that are trained officers and sworn officers that have been trained in that specific area. And so they're not able to take people into custody for violating immigration law, but they can be there to see what is taking place. They can see the drug trafficking that's crossing the border, call us out so that we can interdict it. They can see illegal immigration that is taking place. So again, them being our eyes and being in locations that we just can't be, because we're right now, the vast majority of our agents are doing admin duties and processing because of the number of illegal aliens that are crossing the border every single day. So with them there, they're filling the gaps and they're allowing us to spread our resources out. Again, absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, I'm sure that you welcome the military presence. And based on the number of encounters, though, you wonder how effective it has been, Brandon, because I would think they would certainly have an impact on the cartels and smugglers who might think twice when they see the National Guard troops there. But the numbers were high again in December.
No, the smugglers, they don't fear law enforcement. They don't fear the National Guard. They don't fear Texas DPS. They know that policy is going to be what determines what happens to these people that cross the border illegally. They know that they can flood us with illegal aliens. We're going to have to take them into custody, and they're going to be released. That's how the cartels are generating billions of dollars of profit. They're going into more than 151 nations, and they're advertising their services based upon our policy. So, yeah, the National Guard, they're not able to deport people. They're able to see them. They're able to call us. But ultimately, these people are going to be released. But regardless of whether they're released, we at least get to enroll them in the system. We get to take their fingerprints. We get to do a little bit of vetting on these individuals. So again, it is effective in that we can identify who they are. It's not effective in that we're just going to release them anyway.
Is there a way to repair this and maybe improve not only the deployment but the mission, Brandon, for these guardsmen who are complaining? I know there was one who said, "This is just ridiculous. You're playing with my life and my family's life." And I know hundreds of them sought waivers, didn't get them, though, because the length of this deployment was uncertain. Is there a way to maybe turn this around to where these guardsmen and women feel like they're more, I guess, effective?
I guess what could be done is it could be told to each individual as they call somebody in what the arrest rate is of those people. I mean, that would make them feel a little bit better. But ultimately, if this administration does not change policy, if this administration does not take border security seriously, the cartels are going to continue to win this battle. But regardless, we still need those people there. We need the National Guard there because we have to be able to identify these people. We have to be able to enroll them in the system to at least take a little bit of vetting.
All right, Brandon Judd, National Border Patrol Council President. We appreciate the time, as always. Thank you very much. We're going to get back now to our story about Chicago crime. We're joined now by two great voices on this, former Secretary of Education Arne Duncan and Bilal Evans, who are both involved in Arne's program called Chicago Cred, which is doing great work to try to stop the gun violence in Chicago. Bilal, you've been a part of it. You served 15 years for a crime you didn't commit. You're helping now as an outreach worker. 2 days before Christmas, you're in your car with your family. Someone pulls up and 20 shots are fired. What happened next?
It was just like pure shock. It was, if it wasn't for the shock, the surprise of my wife, I would have been like probably dead right now because her being startled caused me to duck. You know.
And she got out of the car because the shooters turned around, right, to come back and presumably finish the job. But she got out with your baby?
Yes.
And said what? I mean, why did she do that?
Because she was identifying, well, trying to appeal to their humanity to say, listen, whoever y'all think we are, we're not those people.
Okay.
You know.
So after this, it just took Arne a matter of an hour or two, I guess, for you to figure out who was behind this and why. And then, Arne, you asked the question of Bilal, what do you want to do about it? And what was the answer?
Well, this is, again, Bilal runs an amazing nonprofit in Englewood. He's came from a great partner of ours, Iman, before that. And because of his reputation, because he's so well respected in Englewood, I didn't do anything. Very quickly, folks who he knew communicated. I let him tell a story, who shot him, called and apologized. And I asked him very honestly, you know, what do you want? Because so much on the streets is about retaliation. I said, do you want them dead? He said, absolutely not. I want to use this as leverage to drive peace. And it's just a testament to who he is. He could have lost his life. The fact he was shot through the back of his head, the fact that he's still alive is amazing. His two young children, his wife there. It could have been beyond horrific.
You talked with them, Bilal, after this happened, the shooters? Yes. They apologized to you face to face?
Yeah, it's interesting because the group that, they actually thought I was somebody else. They thought I was one of the, I went to visit a young client who needed money for court. And so I took the money to court, took the money to him so that he could go to court. And when I left out of the house, they were looking for those guys and saw me get in the car and thought that I was one of those guys. And I later found out that some of these guys were part of the participants that I already work with.
Right. Arne, despite what you're doing with Chicago Cred, which is amazing, we're setting records for homicides, not just in Chicago, but a number of cities across the country. And I couldn't help but think last night, the president answered questions for 2 hours, not one question about crime. Do you need more help from the president and the federal government?
Well, we need help from everywhere, and I just appreciate your continued focus on this and passion for it. And it's tough as things are. We've had 2 horrific years. Our city is in crisis. There's no easy way to sugarcoat or anything like that. But just this morning, I was at Iman, one of our great partners, and just talking to the young men, seeing their hope, seeing their commitment. We know what's working. We just have to scale this kind of prevention work. Police have to do a much better job. We need businesses to continue to hire young men at the back end when they turn their lives around. But we have to get to a much better place. We all have to do more. None of us can be happy. None of us can be satisfied. This is a really dark time for our city and for our communities.
I know it does start locally, but But is there more the president could do on this?
There's more at every level of government, local, state, federal, national, absolutely. And they have a $5 billion plan to help reduce violence. And we've talked to them about our model and what we're trying to do with Chicago Cred. We need Congress to pass that. And that would be extraordinarily helpful to have those resources. As we build out street outreach teams, as we build out clinical teams, we give life coaches to the young guys. People always say it's great to give them a second chance. I actually think in most cases we're giving them a first chance.
Why does this happen, Bilal? What do the people you help on the street tell you about why they're doing this?
I think when you look back on the length of time that this has started to become a prevalent thing, you have to think about slavery, the lack of reinvestment into the African American community and black brown communities as well. We don't have a lot of resources coming to the communities the way that they should. And you have a lot of young people who feel like they've been invisible for a long time. And, they say it takes a village to raise a child. But when the child is ignored, they burn the village down to fill its warmth.
Arnie, with the work you're doing, we still have these. What do we do about this now? Are we asking too much of police? Is this up to us? I mean, we hear it all the time here in Chicago. Chicago put the guns down, but yet it continues.
Well, a couple of things. Again, there's no simple answer here. So first of all, we have to continue to scale. We have great data from Northwestern University saying the longer young men and women are in our program, the safer they are. Violent arrests go down dramatically, but we need to serve more folks. Give you one example on the west side, North Lawndale. With our partners, we're serving about 200 young men and women. That sounds like a lot, but there are 1,100 young men and women acutely at risk of violence. So we have to scale. On the police side, we are absolutely asking way too much of police, and we would just like them focused on solving homicides and shootings. And so much of the driver of the violence is retaliation. I don't want them giving parking tickets and dealing with the homeless and dealing with mental health issues. We need them focused laser-like on solving these crimes, and that by itself would drive down the violence significantly.
You have said that a relatively small number of people are responsible for most of the crime. Is that the case?
That's absolutely the case.
What do we do about that?
Again, we have to work with those young men and women. Again, I want them held accountable. We have to give them a reason and a way to turn their lives around. And we know so many stories of young men who were caught in those cycles of violence as victims, as shooters, often as both, but with positive role models of people in their life like Bilal and others are now doing great things in the community. We have to scale that work.
Yeah, I know on this topic, you and I have talked about it, but it's being reported more widely now that you are considering a run for mayor. I'll ask you now, is that something you're considering?
I'm thinking about it, but Joe, I'm just really, really focused, laser focused. I'm in two different communities today. I'm just really focused on trying to make our communities safer. That's where my head's at right now.
Well, Arnie, this is a topic that's near and dear to me, and I love what you guys are doing. Bilal, thank you so much. I'm glad you're okay and you recovered. Thank you for sharing your story with us tonight. And Arnie, it's always good to see you.
Christmas miracle is here, boy.
Yeah, it was a close call. What a story. Gentlemen, thank you both.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we are going to move on now after this.
Ammunition. I've only been here 2 weeks, right? I've got them all at gunpoint. I'm going to die. I've told them I'll release these 4 guys. I'll come on the yard and I'll have a toe-to-toe with you. Shoot me dead.
That was just part of a chilling final phone call from the terror suspect who took hostages at a synagogue in Texas over the weekend. We're going to play more of that for you coming up and talk with a former top FBI agent. You'll want to hear his theory and some of his concerns about cases like this. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report. Back after this. New details tonight following that tense weekend hostage standoff at a synagogue in Texas. In a chilling phone recording, Malik Faisal Akram ranted against Jewish people and American wars in Muslim-majority countries as his brother pleaded with him to give up and free the captives. NewsNation's Marky Martin joins us now to break down more of this phone call for us. Marky?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, the Jewish Chronicle obtained that 11.5-minute phone call. They released it last night, and the phone call takes place between the synagogue terrorist, Malik Faisal Akram, and his brother, who's in the UK, and his brother is trying to de-escalate the situation, calm him down. It's really haunting to listen to, and the entire phone call taking place while Akram is holding those 4 Jewish congregants hostage in Colleyville, Texas. And I want to play the very beginning of this phone call for you, Joe, but a quick warning to viewers, it is disturbing to listen to.
So what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm in America. Yeah, I thought I'll just kiss my last goodbye to you, innit?
Well, what's happened?
Yeah, I've took some hostages on. Yeah, I've been surrounded by all my men. I'm in a synagogue, yeah?
But why are you doing that, man? Why are you doing that for? What's wrong with you?
Don't worry about it. Yeah, just do. Don't worry about what I'm doing. You just do what you gotta do. Yeah, I'll come to that.
And Joe, he goes on to repeatedly tell his brother he's doing this for justice for Dr. Afia Siddiqui. She's a Pakistani woman, a neuroscientist, who's been convicted for attacking U.S. armed forces. She's known as Lady Al-Qaeda, and she attacked them as they were interrogating her about her ties to Al-Qaeda. And when her trial came around, she even asked that no Jews be part of that jury. She is historically known for spreading anti-Semitic vitriol, and a lot of people within the Jewish community that I've spoken to in the wake of this tragedy have said this type of rhetoric is cause and effect. And this next part of the call is when things really start to intensify. Take a listen.
I'm bombed up. I've fucked every ammunition. I've only been here 2 weeks, right? I've got them all at gunpoint. I'm gonna die. I've told them I'll release these 4 guys. I'll come on the yard and I'll have a toe-to-toe with you. Shoot me dead.
Yeah, you can hear, the brothers trying to calm him down. He reminds him, trying to level with him. Hey, you are, a family man. You have 6 children. And Akram just doesn't listen. He says he's going to go down as a martyr. He asks that nobody cries at his funeral. And then, Joe, at the very end, you hear that click, that phone call hangs up. And we all know how Saturday ended. All 4 of those hostages made it out alive. And the gunman is now dead. Joe.
All right, Marky Martin, live for us tonight. Thank you very much for the update. I want to bring in now retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Bobby, we've talked a lot about this call being sort of chilling and frightening all at once. I don't know what to make of most of this because, as we know, this man has mental health issues. But let me just first get your reaction to this phone call. Why would he make that call?
Well, I mean, I think that, to die as a martyr, you're trying to get as much publicity and as much attention as you can, right? That's the whole martyrdom thing. If you die quietly and nobody knows, you're not a martyr, or you don't feel like you've become a martyr. So I think this was an attempt for him to get out and tell people what he's been doing and tell the brother. He probably realizes those calls are going to be recorded. And so I think this was a call to get attention. He wanted to let them know what he was doing. And, I mean, you hear him, he's pretty lucid in that. Right. As much as anybody that's a radical fundamentalist can have mental issues, he's very lucid. He knows what he's doing. He's planned this very well. He has a purpose and a cause and an objective. I would be a little hesitant to call him, crazy or mentally unstable beyond his radicalism.
Bobby, a lot of times we don't know these guys are here and motivated to do what they do until they take over a synagogue. And this is something that I think is a theory that you have talked about, where it's sort of a frustrating dilemma that we have when people have knowledge of mental issues and they either can't or don't do anything about it.
Yeah, Joe, you and I have talked about this before. It's not only these terrorism incidents, it's these school shootings and things like that, where family members know that their loved one or their relative has these mental issues, and there's no mechanism for them to get help other than if they're an adult, they have to commit themselves. And it's very difficult in our system to get somebody committed with mental health issues. I mean, I don't think there's a real good structure there to provide mothers of sons who are like this, or family members or brothers, to get the people the help they need, specifically when they're going to resist that help. And that's the crux of the issue. Why do we let this fall to a law enforcement issue at the end when the system should be set up to interdict these types of people? Now, I know these are difficult conversations to have. Do we take someone's liberty away before they commit a crime because we think they may commit an act of violence? I don't know the answer to these, but this is a conversation the country has to have.
But it's also, I think, a concern that someone who does have mental health issues like this is more, I guess, easily sort of, incited online, if you will, especially on a cause like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These people are vulnerable. They're very amenable to being radicalized online, and you can hear it in his voice. He had no connection to this woman who he was trying to get out of jail, who he's demanding, and he knew it probably would never work. And then even in one of the calls, he says, I don't care about that anymore. That was just a symbolic gesture that he threw out. So I think this was more of he got himself worked up online. This is a 44-year-old guy. I mean, he just didn't, if he was going to be this way, he would have been this way his whole life. I think recently, whatever was happening in his life opened him up to, maybe online radicalization or maybe local radicalization in person there. I don't know how that happened, but he certainly got himself to the point where he was willing to die for something that, he didn't even carry out the attack that he had started and planned.
What do you make of the FBI, Bobby, walking back the claim, initially anyway, that the attack was not specifically related to the Jewish community?
Well, I talked to some people that I know that know the SAC that made that statement, the special agent in charge down there. What I was told was that was an effort on his part to calm the Jewish community down, to tell them this is a one-actor event. There's not a generalized, a bigger threat to the Jewish community as a whole down there, that it's one individual with one specific goal to do. I think that's what his point was. I think it was very inartfully said at the time, and of course in this day and age, it's like fire, it's like fuel on a fire, and people grab that and run with it, blame the FBI. But I think it was just an inartful statement, trying to calm the Jewish community, saying, look, as far as we know, this is one guy acting with one cause. I think that, it would have been okay for him to come out and say, look, this is a radical Islamic person who's been radicalized, and he's obviously an anti-Semite. He's coming after Jewish people. I mean, we had all that information. We could have made that statement. I think his purpose and his objective was to convey to the Jewish community in that local area that, hey, this is not a more broad and general attack. This is an individual we know, and it's isolated to this event. I just think that it wasn't very artfully said.
Bobby, for our viewers here, we wanted to let them know that you are a consultant and a producer on a new 6-part documentary series called Indivisible: Healing Hate, exploring the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol and the deep divisions in our country. It's currently airing on Paramount+. Bobby, it's always good to see you, and it's always great to have your voice as well. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, Joe.
A deadly case of road rage and a bicyclist on trial accused of shooting into a car during a roadside altercation. His claim of self-defense and why he says race was involved. That's tonight on Dan Abrams Live, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. A lot of restrictions for athletes and the media in China for the Olympics, as you can imagine. What NBC is doing with its announcers as a result. Plus, we're going to hear from someone who knows all about persecution in China on what it will be like for our athletes over there. Now, the Olympics now, how do you cover the games without actually going to the games? That's the conundrum for NBC. They're going to call Team USA events from their Connecticut headquarters due to China's strict COVID rules. Mike Tirico will be in Beijing for primetime coverage, so the U.S. will have some coverage from China. Meantime, China's Olympic Organizing Committee warned foreign athletes may face punishment for speech that violates Chinese law, highlighting concerns about the country's restrictions on political expression. Additional data privacy concerns have also been raised over the mandatory smartphone app that Olympians must use to report health and travel data. Our next guest, no stranger to the power China holds on free speech. In fact, his new movie is all about that. Peabody Award-winning filmmaker Leon Lee. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you. So let me ask you first about the Olympics. What do you think it's going to be like for the athletes who are going there?
Well, they will probably have a good time, I hope, because China is very good at putting up shows. We've seen that in 2008. But behind the curtains, that's where the real stories happen. I just want to briefly mention a case. Xu Na, who is an artist based in Beijing, arrested last week, sentenced to eight years. Her husband was actually arrested in 2008, leading up to the Beijing Olympics then. And days later, he died in police custody. Both are Falun Gong practitioners. So this is the cost we're paying to host an event like that.
Why was she arrested?
She is a Falun Gong practitioner, but the official charge that they had on her was that he sabotages the implementation of state laws. Essentially, she basically sent some pictures of the empty Beijing streets during the pandemic, which is likely perceived as negative to the Communist Party.
Right. This is something you actually built this movie around, the Falun Gong, and the banning of it by the government in 1999. Let's play a clip from your movie here, and we'll talk to you about it after.
The government is conducting one of the largest scale propaganda campaigns in history. You just want to wait for it.
What are you going to do? Walking through the prison and demand to see him?
Get out of China. Expose their lies to the world.
Unsilenced, that's what it's called. Leon, you focus a lot on the theme of truth versus lies. What made you want to do this project?
I was fortunate to meet Wang Weiyu, who was the real-life hero behind this story. And he spent 8.5 years in Chinese prison for his activism. I was profoundly moved by his story and decided to do a film like this. But more importantly, also, this is not only about a group of students in China. This is also about, as you mentioned, truth versus lies. Because quite often, even in the West, I feel that there is a need to speak up for the truth. It takes courage, yes, but because it's important. And I hope the story will resonate with people in the West, and also they will be inspired by what the students in China are doing to stand up for the truth.
Hey, Leon, speaking of truth and lies, the situation with the Uyghurs certainly comes to mind. And there was an investor with the Golden State Warriors who essentially said, nobody cares about China's Uyghurs. What do we do to get more people to care about this? It's genocide, essentially.
A lot of people are really trying to bring awareness to human rights atrocities in China. But let me try a different angle. Let's say what happens in China actually has a profound impact to our lives in America. What if, in the beginning of the pandemic, instead of all the censorship and the cover-up, the communist regime was transparent and actually working with the international community to contain the virus? Then probably we would have a very different scenario nowadays.
All right. Well, listen, the new movie is called Unsilenced. We wish you all the best. It's released on January 21st, I believe, right? In theaters, January 21st. Leon Lee, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Nearly 1 million students have dropped out of college since the pandemic began. Is that maybe a good thing? We're going to ask our young voters next. Well, the pandemic has spurred a number of surprising changes over the past couple of years. We've had to deal with inflation, the Great Resignation, and a significant drop in college enrollment. According to data compiled by the National Clearinghouse Research Center, since the start of the pandemic, enrollment has dropped by nearly 1 million students. That's a 5.1% drop from the fall of 2019. Question is that such a bad thing? Or is this maybe a needed turning point? Joining me now to help answer this, two young voices we love to have on, Emily Joshinski and Braxton Brewington. Emily, let's start with you on this one. What do you think is going on here? Do you think kids are maybe understanding that maybe they want to wait a little while before they get into college? They don't want to go remote with COVID. What's happening, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think, this is a great way to be talking about it, too, because American Compass, which is a right of center organization that looks at some of these issues, came out with a study on it this week where they crunched the numbers and found about half of students who enroll in four-year college, only about half complete it, and about 40% who do complete it end up in jobs where college was not necessary for that position to begin with. And so I think we had our entire system of K through 12 education geared towards college for a reason, because that used to be sort of the gateway to the middle class. And we know it's not anymore. We know it's a gateway to some average of like $30,000 in student loan debt. And you have to pay that off in jobs that may not have required the debt in the first place. So I think the pandemic has sort of induced a long overdue rethinking on this question.
Braxton, do you think this has become more of a money decision for students and young folks? Because as we know, there are a lot of, Emily just hinted at it, a lot of good jobs out there that don't require a college degree.
Well, I think that's true. I think that was actually a really good case for student loan debt cancellation, right? The reality is 40% of people who actually have student loan debt don't even have their college degree. And that's a vast majority of that is due to the fact that they couldn't afford to finish school.
Oh, wow.
So I think what we need to do is actually make college free. And I think there's some confusion that people think the movement for free college means forced college, right? We're not saying that. If college is not a path for you or that's not an experience you want to have, I think that's totally fine and you can, enter into the labor market with just K through 12 education. But the reality is that education is way too costly. And so, that's the problem that's actually disproportionately driving these dropout rates.
Yeah, Emily, the thing that it almost sounds like you don't have to go to college and that's okay. That just seems like something we don't really hear, right? I mean, you touched on that, but I can tell you from real life experience, the trades are an absolutely golden opportunity for folks who are out there and want to learn and they're ambitious. I can tell you, anybody knows you have an electrician, a plumber, a framer, you name it, a roofer, come to your house, you're going to pay them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up in suburban Milwaukee, and I remember in our public school, K through 12, it was all about college. College was held up as this norm that if you didn't achieve college, if you didn't get into college, and if you didn't finish college, you were in some way not accomplishing the mission of your life. And that is terrible messaging. It's unnecessary messaging. It devalues excellent work in the trade sectors that can be extremely fulfilling and lucrative. And so it's just, we've been putting people on this total path towards debt and towards unrealized expectations that is basically just a subsidy for big ed, which I think is properly considered that way. It is an industry, and these subsidies prop the industry up. And that's, we have to do something about the cost of education, and continuing to make it less expensive, I don't think, and continuing to have the government funded, I don't think is a good answer. I think that's just a bailout for big ed.
Braxton, I know you're a big anti-debt guy. I know this is part of why we like having you on to talk about these things. But is there a line, I guess, where do you need to make the decision whether either A, this is worth it for me to go to college and take out a loan, or does it depend on how much debt you have in the end and what your job's going to be and how long it's going to take you to pay it off?
Well, what I think Emily and I agree on is that the cost of education is completely unaffordable, right? If you are rich, you can afford to go to college. If you're in the top 10%, but everyone else, there's a question of is higher education actually a good deal? And so what I think is what we need to do is make college free. And this question on, should the government be paying for it? Absolutely. But there's also proposals out there, right? We could easily impose a small financial transaction tax on Wall Street. And, we've given Wall Street their bailout. I agree, it's time we give the 99% their bailout as well. So why don't we fund tuition-free college, and then we can give folks the opportunity to, if the job market that they're trying to enter in requires a college degree, then that's something they can pursue. And if not, if they want to, take some other type of career path, then they can do that as well.
Emily, until we get to that point, how do you make this decision if you're, say, 17 or 18 years old and don't really know what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we really need to reduce the stigma of the trades that has built up over the course of the last 3 decades, where we were devaluing them by overvaluing college and making it seem as though this was the necessary thing you must do to achieve the American dream and enter adulthood. And so I think, people need to sort of do that in their own lives, look around in their own communities and see what jobs, not just in the trades, but other professions that you don't need a college education to do, and whether the money is worth what will happen in the 4 years after those 4 years of college. And so it's something people need to think long and hard about on their own personal decisions, and that our institutions need to reevaluate the way they've treated college.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk with you both. Emily Joshinski and Braxton Brewington, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
On Balance with Leland Vittert starts at the top of the hour. He joins us now. What are you working on?
You know all those studies that say drinking wine is good for you?
And then 5 minutes later, it's bad. And then
it's back to bad.
It's bad?
We're gonna break down why neither of us are a paragon of health coming up.
Even the red wine? All right, well, we're watching top of the hour. So these, you're going to see in a second, are actually considered meals. How these pictures of school lunches started a debate online. That and more when we come back. It's American Snapshot now. School lunches don't quite look like they used to. Chris Van Gello, a parent of 4 in upstate New York, posted pictures of his teenager's cafeteria lunch, and it sparked an online debate. Check out the portions. Especially ahead of the big game, certainly not going to fill anyone up. But in his post, the father noted that kids rely on these school lunches, and the superintendent has announced plans to work with students and parents to find ways to make lunches more appetizing while still meeting the USDA requirements of the National School Lunch Program. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack said that an estimated $750 million would be added to school meal programs across the nation this year to ensure more healthy lunches. That's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. On Balance, next. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.